Hey guys, it's Lady Raven, the Wild Witch, and I'm here today to give you guys the monthly forecast for the month of May. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the energy, and then we're going to talk a lot about the reading that we have. Actually, hold on, because I need to start. I'm recording this for the podcast as well, and I need to start it. So I forgot about that. All right, there we go. So once again, I am Lady Raven, the Wild Witch. And today we're going to talk about the monthly forecast for the month of May. So we're going to talk a little bit about the energies, and then I'm going to do the reading for the month of May. So a couple of things that we want to keep in mind for this month is the first thing we have is on May 11th, we have the Taurus new moon. And that new moon is going to be, Taurus always brings that energy of home and comfort and all of that. And so keep that in mind. We're also going to be, this new moon is also going to have, it's going to be considered a black moon Lilith, which means Lilith is the point between the earth and the moon. And it kind of measures the distance that the moon is to us. So depending on where the moon is, that point is going to change in distance. So the black moon Lilith point generally represents kind of the darker sides of our personality, like the shadow work, the things about yourself that you may not necessarily like all that much. And so with all of that energies in Taurus for the new moon, it's a great time to do inner work. Any kind of inner work that you want to do, this is the time to do it. So I would highly recommend that if you want to work into that. The other thing that I want to talk about is that on May the 20th, the sun moves from Earth, does not move from Earth, sorry about that. The sun is going to be moving from Taurus into Gemini. So keep in mind, there's going to be a little bit of a shift when that happens. So you're going to feel a little bit of that energy just really changing, going from the home, nurturing energies of Taurus into these slightly bipolar energies of Gemini. So that's going to be a big shift. So keep that in mind as you move forward. The other thing that is going to be happening, sorry, and I'm looking at my notes here, that's why I'm not looking at the screen. The other thing, the big thing that I think is going to be happening in the month of May, we are going to have a super full moon in a lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. That is a lot of stuff happening in that one day. So let's kind of break that down a little bit so you can kind of understand where that energy is going to go. So when you're looking at the full moon, right, we're talking about energy that is for, it's enlightening, it's offerings that you want to give, protection, anything you want to shine a light on in your life. You don't want to do work for increasing or decreasing because that's not the energy you have. But it's why, initiations are held that day and ceremonies and things like that. So anything that you want to give thanks or explore, or it's always a great time to start a new relationship with a new spirit guide, a new totem, a new deity, anything like that you want to do during that time. So this is going to be that, that's the full moon energy. So now we have a full moon energy, that energy in Sagittarius, which is going to bring all that fire, all of that, need to drive yourself to where you need to go, need to be somewhere. A little bit of wanderlust, which is Sagittarius is famous for. But if you're feeling kind of stagnant, that you don't know where you're going to go and what you're going to do, this would be a great time to kind of like try to use that fire energy from Sagittarius to say, hey, where do I need to go? Where should I be going? I need an idea. I need some clarity. I need some clarification. So that would be a great work that you can do that. But we're not finished yet, because also in this month, we are going to have the lunar eclipse. A full lunar eclipse basically happens when the earth is in a perfect line, perfectly aligned with the sun and the moon. So it goes sun, moon, and then earth in the middle, right? And one of the things that can do is it can make the moon look really different. So if you look up at the sky, sometimes you may see like a moon that's a little bit darker. It's a super full moon, so it's going to be really big, right? But what's going to happen is, because it's an eclipse, it may end up being really big red moon, or it may end up being like a really big shadowy moon. It depends on kind of what kinds of light are reflecting off of our atmosphere at that moment. And so when you're looking at a full moon energy, with a lunar eclipse, the energy that you're going to get from that is an energy of balance, of divine masculine and divine feminine, because we are sitting right in the middle of that. The earth is basically, we are the balancing point between those two energies. So if you're feeling that your life in such a way has been out of balance in any kind of way, that would be a great way to bring it in. What I find is that a lot of times a lunar eclipse, when it comes around, for me at least, and it may be different for everybody else, but for me at least, I find that energy often seems to be, my male energy kind of takes over sometimes and has a life of its own, and it takes over a little too much. So when a full lunar eclipse comes around, it kind of always kind of smacks me in the face to say, rein it in, bring some balance back. So that is one of the things that I would encourage you to look at, is your male energy. And we all have male energy, whether you're female or male, it doesn't matter. Male energy is part of us all. And what can happen when you have a male energy that is out of balance is you can become over aggressive. You can become extremely assertive to the point of being really obnoxious. You can become controlling. You can become narcissistic. There's all kinds of things that happen. Male energy is normally not like that unless it is out of balance. So for me, it tends to lean in the side of being super controlling, right? When I start kind of pulling everything in and trying to be the one person that does everything, then I know that at that point, my male energy is kind of going on high gear, and I need to go, whoa, rein it in. I need to add some heart. I need to add some, comfort, some care, into some kindness, into all of that, which is what the female brings in to balance those two energies. And then finally, we have a super moon. And a super moon basically means that the moon is as close to our planet as it can possibly be. And that's why it looks so big. So what we're going to have is, this is going to affect the element of water tremendously, because that is the one thing in our planet that's very affected by the phases of the moon. Because as the planet moves back and forth, the water gets pulled as the moon moves around the earth, because it's got that not a round orbit. It's got more of a elongated orbit. It tends to kind of go from one side to the other, and it pulls the water in our planet from one side to the other, which is why we have waves, right? So when that moon is really close to us, that energy is really emphasized. So we get all the benefits of that moon energy, plus, it's kind of doubled and tripled. So think about everything that we have with the full moon, with a Sagittarius, with a full lunar eclipse. Now magnify it. So when you have a super full moon, a lot of times that can be a time for working with community, working with family. And that's because that light of the moon is shining much bigger over everyone. So it can be a great opportunity to kind of get some of those things back in balance. And because a lot of those things a lot of times require a lot of heart and emotions, which is what the moon is basically affecting for that month. So keep that in mind. That is basically what the energies you have to work with on September. I don't even know where that came from. On May, I believe it's May 26th. Sorry, I've been yapping so much. Yes, May the 26th. So keep in mind that that's one of the things you have to kind of worry about as you move into that. So the last thing I want to talk about in terms of what the planets are doing is we have a Mercury retrograde, second one of the year, that's going to start on Gemini. On May the 29th, and it starts in Gemini, which is its home sign, which means this Mercury retrograde is gonna pack a punch. So really be kind of aware of that. You've got that kind of semi-bipolar energy from Gemini, which sometimes can appear as wishy-washy, sometimes can appear as changing my mind and changing decisions very often, or changing moods very often. So keep that in mind when you're in Mercury retrograde. Your communications are going to be shot because we're in a retrograde. So the way that you communicate with people is going to be affected by that. So keep that in mind as you move forward through this retrograde. This is probably going to be one of the strongest retrogrades we have this year. We have another one coming at the end of the year, but this is the Mac Daddy for the whole year. So just kind of be aware of it, just because it happens in Gemini. And Gemini is, Mercury is the planet of Gemini that rules Gemini. So, and also clarity will be, because Gemini is a very brainy planet and it likes to figure things out. And a lot of times when Mercury retrograde comes in, it's also going to affect that component of it. So communications and your ability to think clearly are going to be two of the things that are going to be mostly affected by the retrograde that we're going to have coming up. So that is basically all of the energies that we have going on in the month. And so with that being finished, what I want to do now is I want to move to our reading for the month. And so first I'm going to talk about this deck because I love it. This is my first opportunity. I just got it last month. I actually ordered two of them, one for me and one for my friend. And since I got the 2-pack, I received a bunch of other cool goodies with it. But I want to talk about it. It's called the White Hair Wisdom Oracle deck. And I love this deck. First of all, I love the artwork because it's a little bit on the whimsical side, but it also has a lot of color and a lot of power to it. So if you read intuitively, this deck is really awesome to read with. And this is some of the goodies that I got with it. So you can see some of the, and those of you who are listening on the podcast, if you go online, you can see the video for this deck. So this is one of the things that came with my deck. She sent me 2 coasters, that one and this one, which is really, really cute. And then a few actual really pretty postcards, basically, that came with it, like this one. And that way you can see some of the art. This is probably my favorite. I love this one. And then, let's see, the alchemy one, also beautiful, beautiful poster. And finally, this one. I mean, look at his little face. He's so adorable, so cute. And so I really like this deck, and she practices, this is, the author of this is Jacqui Lovesey, and she practices what she calls, I'm going to put that closer so you can see it. And I'm going to post a link to her Etsy shop, which is where I got this. So it's a self-published piece, which I am a huge fan of self-published work, and I encourage you to support these artists so they can keep creating this beautiful art, being self-published. But I'm going to post a link, and she basically, her entire work is done based on the white hair witchcraft, which is kind of what she does. And it's got a kind of a little bit of a combination with Norse paganism that she incorporates into her witchcraft practice. So it's really interesting to see those elements coming together in the story of the deck. And the deck is built in a really cool way where it's got all of the elements, and then it has like a mystical, like a witchy section, and then it has a festival section. So with all of that being said, let's get started. So the very first card, so remember our new setup, right? So the new setup that I'm going to use for the monthly reading is going to be 5 cards we're going to pull. So it's going to be air, earth, fire, water, and spirit. And each one of those are going to touch on our elements, that how they affect us in our daily life. And that correlation is going to give us the reading for the month. So that's where we're going to start. So I am starting with air because it's the beginning. And the card that I pulled for air is this card here, which this card says breathe. And I'm not doing it showing the desk anymore because it became really difficult. I couldn't get the right angle and it looked really wonky on the video. So I decided to just go ahead and do just me on the video. Sorry, but I'll show you the cards. So anyway, this card, Orku, I believe is how it's pronounced. A lot of the words here that she uses are what she calls white rabbit language, which is a combination of Norse and other things. So this card here is the element of air, is a card to breathe. And it's to remember this month to take a breath, to basically, you know, breath. A lot of times we run through things really fast in our lives because we don't breathe. You know, think about when you're working out, when you're exercising, you're like, that's the breath you have during that time. And if you would just take a minute to go like, your mind would kind of clear a little bit, and you would be able to kind of come up with different ideas and different ways of doing things. The other thing that I want to talk about with the breath being in the element of air house, in the house of air, is that think about what the breath does coming into us, right? It gives us life. It gives us so many things. It allows us, you know, humans can survive without many things. Air is not one of them. So we will pretty much die very quickly. Like we can breathe underwater for like 3-4 minutes. You know, I guess some people do it for more than that, but they're crazy. But you can't go even a minute without breathing. I mean, that's the end, right? So we need to keep in mind how important the breath is to being alive and to everyday life, and also to kind of refilling our body, kind of giving a way of kind of cleansing some of that cloudiness that we have. Air brings freshness, not just around us, but within sometimes. So the lesson for this month, there's going to be a lot of things going on this month energetically, especially that super full moon that we talked about. Take a breath. Just when things are going crazy, just take a minute and take a breath. If you participated in our Witches Roundtable that we did last week, we talked about breathing techniques, and I did not know I was going to pull this card for this month. So kind of those two went hand in hand. So take a breath. So that is the element of air. So moving forward, we're going to talk about the cards. We're going to talk about element of earth, and earth basically is going to rule all of those physical material things. It's also going to rule grounding. It's going to rule our health, our money, all of those things. So the card that I pulled for that actually is very interesting, and I did not plan it, but I pulled the Beltane card, which is a card from the festivals section of the Oracle deck. And the Beltane card basically is going to talk about connecting with nature during this month. And really, nature is basically sitting at the very top of its game. This is when fertility is at the highest. We're in the exact midpoint right now between the summer and winter solstices. So connect with that energy and take advantage of it into your life. What are the creativity things that maybe you've been letting slip out? What are the things that you have not really paid attention to and you have not felt inspired? Let the earth and the life coming back to the planet be an inspiration for you every day to get things done. And it's interesting because this card is actually going to later on tie in to the water card. And once again, did not plan it that way, but sometimes these things happen. And it's also going to tie in a little bit to the spirit card. So let's think about this. You know, Beltane, time of Beltane right now is a time of bringing things together, time of fertility, right? Male and female coming together. If you're witchy, this is what we celebrate. And what happens when that happens is things are born, things are created. So that is the energy we're working with for the month. So keep that in mind as you move forward. Need inspiration? Talk to Mother Earth. If you feel maybe that you have a block, go for a walk in the woods, go for a hike, go outside, sit by a lake, go sit at the beach if you're at the beach. So anything that you can do to connect with the energy of the planet as it is now in this season. And that means going outside, leaving the air conditioning and going outside to really feel what the energy is that is around us right now at this moment. So that is basically what that card is about. So moving into the House of Fire, and fire basically is going to control change. It's going to control a lot of times our drives, our passions. What are the things that, you know, what keeps us moving forward? What are the things in our lives that maybe need to change? A lot of times when you pull negative things in this house, it can be things that need to be getting rid of because they're blocking new things from coming in. So what I pulled in this house is I pulled this card, and it's called Farjur, and it's called Hidden. And essentially in her description in her deck, she talks about having a cabinet at home where she kind of puts everything in there and kind of don't look at it. You just stick things in, and then it kind of gets messy, and you go to, you know, pull things up, and like the whole thing attacks you, you know. So what if you go through that cabinet, what are some of the things that are in there that you forgot were in there? Some gems you can pull out. And I do that all the time when I clean my altar room. I go through and I pull things out and go, oh my God, I forgot I had this. Oh, look at this. I'm going to use this now. So this is what I interpret as with this card here. My interpretation is not as literal as her, but my interpretation is what fire is telling me is you already have all of the tools you need to succeed. You have all of the things you need to move forward. So are you sitting on it and not taking advantage of it? Are you not aware that you have it? Or are you not aware of your own power, the power of the things that you already have sitting in your cabinet right now? So that is kind of what that tells me. In the fire, in the House of Fire, it's going to talk about what are the resources that you already have that you are maybe not making full use of. You don't need to burn anything down. You don't need to make room for something new because you already have it. So what I would say for this month, especially if you've run into a block, if you're feeling like you have a project that you've been trying to get off the ground and you can't, you have everything you need to get that project off the ground. So what is it that's not happening? Is it you? Do you not have the drive to do it? Are you maybe not aware of the full benefits of all of the tools that you have? So what I would say for this month is connecting to the earth with the House of Earth to bring all of that energy of creativity, of fertility, all of that. Use that same connection and look at what you have already and what can you do to utilize those tools better so that you can move forward and you can break out of a block of stagnation that you may be having right now. So that is one thing that you can do in this month with the card in the House of Fire. So finally, we're moving up to the house of water. And in the house of water, this is the card that I said is going to tie back in to the house of earth with the Beltane card. And so this card that I pulled is, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name because I'm going to butcher it. So I'm going to say the English version of it. And it is called Add Color. And to me, the minute I pulled this card, what it spoke to me of is the pandemic has pretty much removed every last ounce of, spontaneity and, joyful things in life that we've had. We couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't go anywhere without wearing a mask. You couldn't normally see people. If you have people who were high risk, you couldn't see them. There are people who haven't seen their parents, their grandparents in over a year. So it really kind of stole a lot of things from us. And this is the time to reconnect with those colors of life, those things that have been taken away from us. And if you are in a place where you're feeling kind of like stagnated, then maybe what this is going to do for you is it's going to add color. Means take inspiration from nature. This is the time of year, Beltane, when the nature is at its most colorful, is its most beautiful. We have flowers of all kinds. Take inspiration from that. And if you need to bring that inside, then do it. Go to the store and buy some flowers for yourself. Buy a new plant if you're a plant person. I'm a plant person, so I have a bazillion of them. But if you're a plant person, buy a new plant. If not, add things to your wardrobe that has the colors of nature right now. Use that inspiration to release that blockage, because a lot of that emotional blockage, that feeling of stagnation that we have, a lot of times can be because we've been stuck for so long, not able to do anything. This all comes together for me to find ways to become unstuck, to make yourself be unstuck and be able to move forward in a better way than what you've been doing up until now. So take advantage of what Mother Earth is offering to us right now, not just with the energies of the planet, but with the colors and the inspiration that it's bringing to us right now to be able to break out of that quarantine, ache, funk, whatever you want to call it. So that is what that card speaks of to me. And finally, the last card that we are going to pull is the card in the House of Spirit. And in the House of Spirit generally talks about our, spiritual path. What are the things, what are we working right now? And also we talk about how is our spirit, the health of our spirit, which sometimes may not necessarily be in line with our emotional health, right? So what are the things that we need to do to improve some of that? And so the card that I'm pulling right now is, it's a card that is, one of my favorite cards actually. It's called Neman, and it is the card of the new moon for spirit. And this is going to be, astrologically, is going to be a power-packed month. We're going to have early in the month, around May 13th, where Jupiter is going to enter Pisces, and that's really going to amp up a lot of the magical component energies that we have around us to work with. So the new moon, this is going to talk about new beginnings for us, about what are the things that we can do to start a new path this month, and take advantage of that. So maybe you have a new spirit guide you want to connect with. Maybe you have a new deity you want to connect with. All of those things, this is the time to do it. Once again, fertility and growth is what the planet is giving us. Let's take full advantage of that as we go in. And if you're interested in connecting with a new deity, next week, I have on the next Wednesday night, I think it's like the 28th, I think, at the Wyld community, we are doing our monthly ceremony, and it is going to be a ceremony to connect with your protection spirit. We're going to do a guided journey where you're going to go through and discover who your protection spirit is. And at the end of that, we're going to create a talisman that's going to serve as a tool for us to work on that relationship with our spirit guide that we are going to, work through for the rest of the month. And this is going to be a great time to do it. And to do it before Mercury retrograde kicks us in the butt. So this is a great time to get started with that. So all in all, I think that a lot of this energy right now in this month, we have a lot of this energy pushing through to break free of the stagnation that we've had. The country's getting ready to reopen. Most people have had their COVID stuff taken care of. A lot of mask mandates are coming down. So there's a lot of things that are going to be happening that are going to open up for this month. So keep that in mind as you move forward, and take advantage of that energy. It's coming out time for all of us. We're coming out of our houses finally. So anyway, if you have any questions about anything that you saw here, you can go to the Wyld community, WYLD community.com, and you can post a question there, and I will be more than happy to answer it. And I hope that, and I apologize, I didn't have a video for you guys last month, but my life kind of exploded at the end of March. So I did not get a chance to create a session for May, but here, better late than never. I mean, for May, for April. So now we're doing one for May. So here we are. So anyway, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And I hope that you will see, I'm dropping on the podcast also all of the Witches In videos that I'm recording on every other Monday. I do that on Instagram. So if you're interested, you can watch it live. And if you don't want to watch it, if you prefer to listen to it on a podcast, I'm recording it simultaneously the same way that I'm doing this one, and you can watch it there instead. So I hope everybody has a fantastic month of May. All right, guys, take care. Bye-bye.